Good evening, I'm Kathy Lewis, and here's what matters this week. We are just weeks away from the major parties' nominating conventions, but there's one Norfolk man who is watching the process with special interest and a special T-shirt. Michael Canterwall, much to his surprise, is headed to the Electoral College. You will meet him tonight, and while he has a T-shirt that reads Electoral College Athletic Team, we really doubt they actually have one. It seems that young people are registering to vote in the Commonwealth at nearly twice the rate of all voters. Lisa Godley has been spending time with young people in both campaigns.
Like many high school graduates, David Rose can't help but wonder how his freshman year at college will be. But VCU isn't all that's on this 18-year-old's mind.
As I was approaching my 18th birthday, I felt like I didn't really have a voice. I felt like the only voice I had was the one that I used to yell at the television screen when I heard people saying things that I knew to be wrong.
David decided it was time to make a difference.
On primary day, I did something that I had never done before, didn't ever do again. I skipped school and I went to IHOP and I had a free pancake breakfast, and I went to the polling station and I voted, and then I went to the Obama office and I picked up a stack of papers, and I went out to the Norview polling district, and I didn't stop knocking on doors until I was out.
David has been working with the Obama campaign ever since, about 100 hours a week, and his passion for politics is stronger than ever.
And I realized my vote may not be the vote that decides this election, but my voice can be what turns the tide and tips the scale. The 200 people that I've registered to vote could be the 200 that decide the state of Virginia. And the state of Virginia could be what state decides this election. And so I can be the cause of the people of America taking their voice back.
Across town, another 18-year-old is just as passionate about his role in the political process.
Hello, my name is Paul, and I'm a volunteer calling on behalf of the McCain-Drake Victory 08.
18-year-old Paul Blair has been working as a volunteer for the Republican Party since 2006.
I think it's an excellent opportunity to get out here and be involved in the process of getting the message out, message I believe in, getting others involved in a process which so many take for granted, having the ability to take part in the process.
Paul volunteers about 40 hours a week.
Yes, every day we're usually planning for events, getting the word out, calling people to let them know about the kind of events that we're doing. Then in the afternoons we take walk sheets and go into the neighborhoods to pass out literature and get people signed up to help out on the campaign or see if we have their support. We're doing that every single day, Monday through Sunday. It's fun.
This election year, there's an increasing number of young people like David and Paul doing more than just casting their ballots on Election Day. They're taking an active role in the political process, contributing their talent, time, and ideas in an effort to change the world. For What Matters, I'm Lisa Godley.
And if the Electoral College had a basketball team, he'd be its captain. Michael Canterwall joins us tonight to talk about his journey to the Electoral College, and we're going to get him to show you that shirt as promised. Well done. There we go. Electoral College Athletic Department. Too funny. We are also glad to have with us tonight Jarrett Wright, who is a young Republican, and we are particularly happy to have him with us because the gentleman who was supposed to be with us, Ron Markey, unfortunately got into a car accident on his way from Richmond. He's fine from Richmond to the studio, so our good friend Jarrett Wright stepped in at the very last possible minute, so we're very appreciative for him being with us tonight. And Greg Scanlon is with us as well, and Greg is a state party staffer now. Has been in the political world ever since his graduation from college, as has Jarrett. Good to have all of you with us tonight. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. As you think about this, Greg Scanlon, this election, we've seen young people turn out, particularly in Virginia. You know, we know that they're registering at twice the rate of all voters. What do you think is behind that interest in the process? You think it's the candidates or the process?
Well, I think the candidates can probably take most of the credit. I think Barack Obama is really one of these kind of once-in-a-generation politicians that comes along and kind of taps into something that a lot of young people have been looking for in politics for a while. And I think it's just really the first opportunity they've had in a while to really completely change what's been going on in Washington in a way, you know, for the first time in their lives. So I think a lot of it's due to Barack Obama, but I think they're also just more concerned about the way things are going generally, and they want to see change overall.
And Jarrett Wright, for you, what do you think is drawing young people to the Republican side of the House?
The Republicans have been investing in college students particularly for the past several years. The Republican National Committee has worked and coordinated with the College Republican National Committee to grow the party, especially in students. And right now you have a candidate in John McCain who has a particular a niche where he's found himself in the Congress as someone who can work with both parties, can get things done, and has a high level of experience. And I think John McCain's experience mixed with the investment the college Republicans have garnered with the Republican National Committee has certainly increased youth voter participation.
Yeah, it's so interesting too because you know, in this election campaign, we are seeing so many more young people, and we're also seeing the influence of those young people affecting the campaign in terms of the ways of communication. So much of this now is internet based, and so as you talk to young people who are getting involved in the campaign, Greg, I wonder what role do you see the internet playing, and is there a generation gap there with some of the older campaign workers, older staffers, around how to work this technology?
Well, there might be a little bit of a gap. I think young people kind of expect to find everything they're looking for in a website these days. I was looking at the Barack Obama site today, and it's really amazing because most of the tools on the Obama site are designed to be used in the real world. It's not just to entertain people online with videos. I mean, you can get call lists online, you can make fundraising pages, you can host events online. So it's all designed with the expectation that it'll actually engage in real-world action after that. So I think it's really getting people involved in that.
So it's not the deal necessarily where you have to show up at the campaign office, although I'm sure there is some of that work there as well, but so much of this now you can do in different ways.
Well, it's intertwined. I think it's both. They're using the internet in order to get people out to the offices, and so they're kind of using it as more of a tool than just kind of a showcase for their own issues and that kind of thing. It goes much beyond just information.
And Jarrett Wright, certainly the internet has to play a key role in your efforts to reach young Republicans. But, you know, we were talking a little bit in some other venues about this idea that there are also, we see the candidates in so many more ways than we used to see them.
Yeah, the blogs have certainly taken a key role in bringing voters a new side of politics that they perhaps haven't seen. They no longer have to get their news just from one source or two sources. It can now come from a source that solely looks at you know, John McCain's you know, policy on foreign affairs.
Right.
And it has certainly perhaps got new people involved because they can look at different areas of an issue.
Do either one of you aspire to public office as a result of what you've been doing in these campaigns? You pretty definitely say
No, I'm happy behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of scrutiny these days when you're running for office. So.
But you've really been doing nothing but politics since you got out of college.
Well, yeah, I kind of fell into it. Actually, I first started getting interested in politics back in high school because my AP government teacher was actually Kirk Cox, who's the majority leader of the House of Delegates. So it was a Republican that got me interested in politics to begin with. But it's a fun life. It's interesting. I couldn't do anything else.
And you've done a lot of different campaigns, a lot of different places. And Jarrett Wright, you've just graduated from James Madison University, but you too have been doing pretty much nothing but. Since your graduation. Do you contemplate a career in politics, or?
I don't know if I can last as long as Greg has, but politics is fun. There's a lot of growth potential for young voters, but I could see down the line when I've you know, had more experience, you know, perhaps running for office.
Well, good for you. Michael Canterwall is a freelance writer and also the operator of a precinct site, a polling place.
Right.
And then you got interested in the Electoral College. I mean, I think a lot of people have an intellectual curiosity about the Electoral College, particularly since the 2000 campaign.
Right.
Fourth time in history that, you know, we had the popular vote in the Electoral College, two different things. But you really took that to a very interesting place. What happened?
Well, I being involved, helping run elections here in Norfolk, and you're in my precinct, I got to know the Electoral Board, the chairman of which was my high school teacher, also a Republican, who's very excited that I'm involved in any way because he just wants the students to get out there and do something. And so I became involved with the Democratic Party in Norfolk, and then they asked me to be a delegate to the 3rd District Convention, the state convention. And at the 3rd District Convention, I noticed someone was running for Electoral College, and I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. It's an interesting thing. I want to learn more about that.
Yeah.
And so I decided to run for it at the state convention for one of the 2 at-large slots. And then I made.
I think a lot of people would have said, wow, that's interesting, and kind of stopped there. But you said, yeah, I think I'm going to run for this.
Yeah, I thought I'll put my name in the hat and see what happens. And then I thought, well, maybe I should make an effort too and actually do a little bit of campaigning. So I sent an email out and talked to lots and lots of people at the state convention and ended up winning one of the 2 at-large slots. I think because I talked to lots of people and really got energized by that process. And
you were told that by people who wound up voting for you.
Right. Well, you talked to me, so I voted for you. Yeah, that's what I heard. So
wow.
So
memo to campaigns. Talk to people. They'll
Talk,
vote for you. Yeah.
The word actually shaking someone's hand and looking them in the eye and listening to them for a few minutes does wonders. And I think candidates, of course, understand that very well.
Yeah.
And so then I decided it might be kind of good to even take it even further and start doing some work as an elector, because most of the campaigns in the past have really not used the electors for anything other than hopefully to vote in December.
Right.
And I thought, well, why don't we make this an interesting angle, like have the electors be available to speak to local groups and school groups and community groups. And I did a website for the Electoral College, for the Democratic Electoral College, that has resources for both the Warner campaign and the Obama campaign and the state party, ways to get to all the different important parts of their websites, plus information on the electors, information on the Electoral College, information on how to vote, where to vote, how to register to vote, that kind of thing.
So how many electors are there from your party?
Well, each party or each candidate picks a slate of electors in Virginia. Virginia has 13 electoral votes, 1 for each congressional district in Virginia and 2 for the 2 senators. So we have 13 votes. So there are 13 Democratic electors and there are 13 Republican electors.
Okay.
And if there are other candidates in the ballot, they have 13 electors also. So whoever wins the popular vote in Virginia, those electors get to go and cast their votes for Virginia. And it's been since 1964 that a Democrat has won Virginia. So we're hoping this year to be the Electoral College in Virginia.
It's fascinating. And so where will you go do this? Where will this take place? Where will you?
Well, after the election,
if your party wins,
right? On December 15th, we go to the state capitol, and we would cast 1 vote for president and 1 vote for vice president each.
Collectively,
all 13 of us
each
would.
13.
But as a member of the party, we're pledged to support the party's nominee. So,
sure.
And in Virginia, it's actually the law that we must then vote for them. So it's kind of a very
little anticlimactic because you kind of know where that's going if your party wins, but.
Yeah,
you know.
But so we would go do that on December 15th at the state capitol. And I hope we can. I think it's a great opportunity this year to do that. Yeah, I think that this is, we have one of the best shots we've had in a very long time here.
But this whole Electoral College thing is so interesting because you think about it as an academic exercise. Now you're in it.
Right.
I mean, do you have some thoughts about whether this is the right way to do things? There's a great conversation after 2000 about whether the Electoral College makes sense anymore, how it might be amended.
Here's how I feel about it. I think while it's there, I'd like to be involved with it and see how it runs and see how it works and be there from the inside. There are certainly other ideas on how to restructure the Electoral College or voting in America. Some people would like to just see it be straight popular vote. Some people would like to see what we do in Maine and Nebraska and have each congressional district be 1 vote based on that turnout in that district, and then the 2 statewide ones would go for the total popular vote. There's lots of ideas out there. For me, because I'm in Virginia this year, I like it the way it is because here's where I am.
Yeah. And you wear the shirt a lot of places, and you do wash it regularly, just to be clear. But it must be a real conversation starter for people.
Oh, it is. I say I'm on their football team.
Yeah.
And then I decided to run for the actual Electoral College.
I love it.
I'm already playing sports for them. Might as well
there
start.
you go. You might as well go all the way, right? Jarrett Wright, when you were in college, and certainly now, and you're working in your political life, do you think a lot about things like the Electoral College, or for you, is it just about getting those votes for your candidates?
I haven't joined the football team yet, so we're still working on that. But no, I think I went to James Madison University, and we actually had several speakers come and talk about reforming the Electoral College. And there's a relatively healthy debate on that subject, but I think generally it's sort of left out of the public eye.
Yeah. Do you think it's one of those things that comes up every 4 years and then there's a sort of bit of a skirmish about it and then it goes away unless we have another situation like 2000?
Well, in 2000, I remember it did come up because there were some electors that were not pledged.
Right.
So
Right.
There was some news about that back then. But, you know, it's something to be talked about. I think the primary process is something I'd rather see kind of reworked. I think there's some issues with there. Well, I think just the disproportionate attention given to a few states early on, I think it's really stretched out, too, because the states keep trying to front-load each other and try to get more influence.
Yeah, we'll soon be doing 12 right after we do the inauguration for the next one, I suspect.
Right, so
that's how it seems anyway.
It starts at the beginning now.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting longer and longer.
Yeah,
So.
but these are interesting, and they're not insignificant debates because they really could change the way we approach things, and it could be very interesting to see how that works out, because there is a lot of interest in changing the primary system and sort of taking a look at all of that. Are either of you surprised that Virginia seems to be playing the role that or the pivotal role that it may play in the national race?
It has certainly elected a number of Democrats recently. We are working very hard to make sure that doesn't occur, especially in the youth area. Down here in Hampton Roads, we're starting a number of clubs that perhaps the universities perhaps haven't seen. College Republicans at Hampton University in Norfolk State. We're working on creating these organizations so that we can keep it for John McCain.
And I don't mean to suggest for a moment, because you just sort of just irritating when you think about these ideas that people assume that women will vote for women and young people will vote for young people. But your candidate is the older of the two candidates. There is another candidate who is closer to their age group and certainly has attracted a lot of attention from young voters. So what are you telling young Republicans about John McCain that convinces them that he's the one to vote for?
There's an interesting game that John McCain has on his website. It's called Pork Invaders. It's a spin-off of a 1980s game, and it's got, you're basically blasting pigs that come across the screen. And at the end of each round, it has a fact about earmarks and Barack Obama and John McCain. John McCain's been in Congress for a number of decades and has 0 earmarks, $0. In 3 short years, Barack Obama already has nearly $800 million in earmarks. It's these sort of...
So you're hoping those sorts of arguments.
Well, it's that argument, but also that appeal. We're reaching out to them in terms they understand, a game on his website. And so it's a mixture of this new kind of approach to getting young people involved.
As you think about the ways to get young people involved, they certainly are turning out for rallies. Do you find a lot of that actually translating into campaign workers, or is it more, or is it just a lot of sort of energy around it?
No, I mean, they've been coming out. Just recently we had a 100 Days to History canvas, and we had 2,000 volunteers across the state. I don't know if you were not, you might have been one of them, but we had 2,000 folks come out and knocked on 52,000 doors. And we've got offices all over the state. I mean, in places we've never opened offices before. The party has offices in the Peninsula and South Side. The Barack Obama Campaign for Change has 25 offices around the state. It's just completely unprecedented, and we're not seeding any areas. We're just going to people and directly asking them.
You know, I have to say, I was out in Western Virginia a couple of weeks ago, and at a festival, and I know that festivals are the mainstay of a lot of what you do these days, because you're trying to find large groups of people to shake hands with and hand literature to, and I was so struck by the young people who engaged my family and I as we were sort of walking around this festival, truly from both parties, and they engaged us, and so. You know, I thought I was going to be smart, and I thought I was going to play. I just thought I will see what they know. You know, I will ask them a question, see how deep this commitment goes. And I have to say, I was really just very, very impressed with the degree of knowledge that these young people, and some of them very young, had about the candidate. They were able to answer all of the questions. You know, so I threw my little 5 or 6 questions out there. What do you think about that? And if they'd have said I never heard of it, then that would have been a problem. But truly, they were all very impressive in terms of the degree of knowledge that they had about the candidates and the issues. So what sort of training do you, I mean, I'm just guessing that young people don't spring forth with that level of knowledge. So for each of you, what sort of training do you do to train these young volunteers?
Well, I mean, there's been no lack of media coverage about this race. I mean, it seems like it's been going on for years now. But I mean, they have general scripts to go over. They've got the website that I was just talking about. When you make a call, there's the information right there with all of Barack Obama's issues.
But you're doing training with these, are you doing training with these young people, or is it all mostly web-based? I mean, it's sort of on demand.
It's more of a bottom-up thing. I mean, we're not giving them a whole lot of marching orders. They're really taking the initiatives themselves, and I think it's great that they're learning all this stuff because they're really finding that on their own. You know,
and particularly in the local races, I think that's where probably the greater challenge is for that, because you're right. I think in the national campaigns, the conversation is sort of around that, but you know, it's these local campaigns where there are some nuanced differences. Are you all doing any training on the Republican side of the House around this for young canvassers and volunteers?
We do have grassroots training available, and some of this is through you know, non-party organizations like the Leadership Institute, and it's an Arlington-based political educational foundation, and it teaches folks how to best utilize grassroots techniques, door-to-door canvassing and phone banks, such as that.
Yeah. So as you think about the issues that are most important to the young people in your world, give me 3 of the top issues you think that are the most critically focused for young people.
I think a lot of folks are interested in keeping America safe. I think you've seen America's all-volunteer army continue to grow. I think a lot of young people are interested in having a strong national defense. My particular interest is in the free market and expanding the free enterprise system to keep the ability to have you know, young business owners you know, jump into new opportunities in life and not have government stand in their way. And the other is the environment. I don't think that issue is really controlled by one party or the other. We've elected a number of great legislators, Rob Whitman, for instance, who has a great bill coming out really soon, I hear, about the Chesapeake Bay. And
Rob Whitman in the 1st District.
Yes.
Yeah. And how about you, Greg Scanlon? What do you think from your party's perspective? What do you think are the top 3 issues that younger people are concerned about?
Well, right now, I'd say probably the war. I would agree with that. I think they're very interested in getting out of Iraq in a responsible manner, especially since so many of our servicemen and women are of young ages. I think they have a lot of friends over there.
Sure.
And I think making college and healthcare affordable and those kind of economic issues lately. And I would agree, the environment as well. I would say that's certainly
This is the first time you're really starting to see that that across the board. It's very, very interesting. Well, thanks to both of you for being with us tonight. And Michael Canderwall, looking for some pictures from the road trip to the Electoral College.
All right.
It's going to be very exciting.
It's www.virginiaelectoralcollege.org if anyone wants to come look at the site.
Just check it out and see what's going on. Well, thanks to all of you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
thank you.
I'll be back in just a moment with a final thought. One of the things I like best about this election is experiencing it with a daughter who will vote in November by virtue of her 18th birthday in October. Like so many young people in this election cycle, certainly like the ones you've met tonight, she is engaged, inspired, and a little impatient for her generation to get their hands on a process they're pretty sure we've all messed up. She observed the other day that this is probably the first election that could be decided in large measure by talk shows instead of news interviews. She noted that all the major candidates have been on Comedy Central's The Daily Show. Barack Obama got a big boost from Oprah, and John McCain announced his candidacy on The Tonight Show. Turns out she's right. Talk show slots are often more coveted than news interviews these days because many campaign managers say they help voters answer a fundamental question. Do I like this person? Now, some of us will turn up our noses and sniff that picking a president should carry a little more weight than friending someone on MySpace. But many of the young people these campaigns are trying to influence just aren't watching traditional news outlets in the same numbers as they used to, or as their parents did. They're getting their view of the world from so-called soft media. And if you talk to campaign managers, they'll say there's another benefit to soft media. It seems that non-news viewers who think that they've made up their minds are actually more likely to change their minds if another candidate charms them with a chat show appearance. So like it or not, the talk show is here to stay. And while younger voters may decide which candidate they like by how well they banter with a host, they're also testing those relationships by digging deeper, by doing their research, by learning more about the candidates on websites and the like. The challenge for public broadcasting is to make sure that younger voters want to see the candidates talking with Jim Lehrer and Gwen Ifill as much as they do Regis Philbin and the women of The View. And now here's a look at what matters to you. Our program about autism inspired this email from Christine Kirch. Thank you, WHRO, for this episode. My son has autism, and it's so important to talk about this. These children and adults need community support. Please continue to show support by raising awareness. Thank you. And our program on green alternatives in the region inspired this email from Val Burkett. Thank you for the exposure to green alternatives for new and retrofit housing, along with products for everyday use. This is definitely a timely topic, and it very much matters. We're always interested in learning what matters to you, and you can write to us here at WHRO, 5200 Hampton Boulevard, Norfolk, Virginia, 23508. If you'd care to call us, we're at 889-9437. We also have a website, which is at whatmatters.tv, and that's where you can post your thoughts about this or any other broadcast. As well, you can leave us suggestions for future broadcasts, and you can even watch shows you may have missed. We've had quite a number since we first went on the air in March, and they're all there for your viewing pleasure, as they say. Thanks so much for being with us this night. We'll see you again next week for another look at What Matters.